Welcome to As We Get Older. I'm Laura Ornduff, and in this video, I want to ask the question, now that you have your healthcare power of attorney document and your living will, what do you do with them? And I mean, what do you do with the physical documents? You've left your attorney's office. You've left your estate planner's office. What do you do with them? Now, when I was preparing for this video, I asked a few of my friends, and the main two answers I received were they're either in the safe deposit box at the bank or with a lawyer. And those are great ideas. They're safe, they're protected, but that is more of a long-term illness kind of approach. What happens if you're in a car accident 9 o'clock on a Friday night and it's bad and people need to make some decisions? I don't know what the banking schedule is across the country, but where I am, banks shut down at 6 p.m. So they're closed for the weekend, and attorneys' offices are usually closed for the weekend. Next couple of answers I got were that they would either put a copy in a Ziploc bag, sealed Ziploc bag, and put it in the freezer or the refrigerator, or put it in a fireproof box in the house. Again, great idea, more easily accessible, but if you receive a phone call, say a Tuesday afternoon, 2 o'clock, that your loved one has been in a very bad car accident and you really need to get to the hospital as soon as possible, you're going to the hospital as quickly as possible. You're not going, I should stop by the house and get those documents. No, you're not doing that. You're rushing to the hospital. So, great ideas. But let me throw out this idea that my attorney actually suggested, because she had done this with her husband. She and her husband are each other's healthcare power of attorneys, and they have emailed the document to each other's documents. So if one were in an accident, they've got it. But let me throw out a little caveat. And again, I apologize. That's what I do on these videos. I throw those things out. What happens if both she and her husband are in that car accident and they are both terribly injured? They're in a trauma situation. What happens? So let's take that email idea, which is a wonderful idea, and expand it. Whoever your healthcare power of attorney is, obviously email it to them so they'll have it. But then email maybe other family members, maybe a couple of friends who, trusted friends. Consider clergy. Again, I don't know what kind of relationship you have, and they may not want to do that, but something to consider. And with all these people, you definitely want to make sure they have a hard copy of your healthcare power of attorney document in your living will. You want to make sure everybody has that. But the advantage of everyone having the email is, let's say you have 3 siblings and you have emailed that document to all 3 siblings. Well, you all live in the 4 corners of the country. You're all, hundreds of miles apart. If something were to happen to you, the social worker could, when they finally get in touch with somebody, they could say, oh, I can, your brother, let's say, I can email that to the social worker, and then they can say, okay, this person is a primary healthcare power of attorney, this is the secondary, this is the third, and they can take care of that. Now, with the email, something to consider. Email on a significant day. So let's say October 19th is your birthday or an anniversary or something. Email it to the people a date they will remember. Because if you just email them on, say, March 12th, just a random day, and it's been 3 or 4 years and they need to look it up in your email account, they're probably going, I think the daffodils were blooming. Who was president? And they're going through just so many hundreds of emails trying to find the healthcare power of attorney email. So say, again, October 19th, and that's a day, and you could email it to everybody. And every year, just re-email it every year, because that way they don't have to go back 4 or 5 years. Again, a consistent date, even if it's 3 years old, that's fine, we can find it. But if it's every year, we can find it. And if for some reason you forget and don't mail until, say, October 21st, at least it's within a couple of days and you can easily find it. So that is something to consider. Now, another thing to do with the hard copies is give a copy to your primary care doctor, if you have any specialists, take it to all those doctors, because when he or she looks at that document, they may have some more questions, because maybe they're thinking of some things that your estate planner didn't think of, and that's okay. Now's the time to ask the questions, because again, just because your estate planner didn't think of it doesn't make them the bad person, by no means. Your specialist or your doctor, they think medically, and so they're going to say, oh, what about situation A or situation B? So you can decide what you want, and you can have that communication and have that discussion with your healthcare power of attorney. Now, this last one, this is something that I did for my dad. This was several years before he passed. Again, if you've watched these videos, he had just numerous illnesses. And he was a frequent flyer through the hospital system. You know, he kept having to go to the emergency room. And I took his healthcare power of attorney documents to the hospital. Now, he had been a patient, so he had an established medical chart. If you have just moved into an area, you know, I don't know if a hospital would, you know, create a medical record number for you. I don't know. You know, call them and ask them. But I went to the HIM department, which is Health Information Management. Now, that is also, it used to be called the Medical Records Department. But walk in the door, they'll tell you where you need to go. They'll get you to the right place. But I put that documentation there, and it was so helpful because, again, with Parkinson's and dementia and other issues, he did fall a lot. Again, he had great care. I mean, but he would just, you would be walking with him and he would just fall. And when he came in, and I would, you know, meet him at the emergency room, and I could easily say, yes, I put the documents in January 2015, because honestly I couldn't remember the date, but they had a date range so they could easily search. Now, something to consider, you can ask your local hospital, but in my local hospital, the area of the chart where that was recorded had a default window of 2 years. So after 2 years, when I said I'm the healthcare power of attorney, they're like, okay, we don't see it. But because they just would forget to change the filter, they could see it, but they would just not think about, especially in, like, you know, when Dad would have more of a trauma situation, like when he fell and broke his hip, you know, they weren't thinking. And I'm like, okay, can you change a filter or something? So you, at the hospital, just say, you know, what's the date range? And then if it's 2 years, then maybe in a couple years, bring it back in and have them rescan it. So it's right there, because you do want to do everything you can to help the medical staff, you know, because act quickly, because they are trying to, you know, take care of you if you are injured. So some things to think about, you know, please do consider at least doing 2 of these. Don't just do one. Again, none of these are wrong just by themselves, but you want to make sure that anybody and everybody who needs the documents can access them. You don't want them sitting in a safe deposit box and nobody knows they're there or can access them until Monday, because at that point they may have to make other decisions. So, you know, do several of these, you know, talk to the people, you know, just, you know, say, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to send it to you, and here's a significant date. It's, you know, it's my birthday or something like that. But again, please do consider, if you have any questions, please talk to your lawyer, talk to your estate planner, talk to your doctor, talk to, you know, call the hospital, you know, ask to speak to one of the social workers, and they may be able to help you and offer some suggestions. So I hope I've given you a few things to think about. Please, I beg you, when you watch this, don't just say, oh, that's a good idea, I should do that. No, don't, I should do that. Please take action, because you don't want to, as you're being put into the ambulance going, I should have done it. Go ahead and do it now. You know, just make it a goal this week. Go ahead and do it. So hopefully you've thought about some things. Please check out the other videos in my library, and I'll see you in the next video.